All right, welcome back to another episode of StichMethod, and we're going to be doing an In the Mind of David Gilmour for improvising over the time guitar solo section. Before we begin, I just got to share my love for Sweetwater.com, the online music store. And the reason I'm telling you about this is I have a student who takes lessons with me over the internet, and he lives in the Midwest, and hey, Dave. And he wanted to get the Aqua Epiphone Dot guitar because he was inspired by the Emerald Riders that Sean and I are recording, and he couldn't find one locally, and so I told him to go to Sweetwater, and he just received his, and he called me, and he was just so happy to get it, and they set it up for him, and the customer service there is awesome, and it really made him happy. So if you're looking to buy something online, I highly recommend Sweetwater.com because they will make you happy. And so good luck with the guitar, Dave. All right, here we go. We are going to be studying how to improvise over this famous chord progression. And again, if you're in if you're going to be in a band and you're going to cover the song, you might want to cover the song, the solo note for note, but this is about learning how to improvise over it so that when you do study the solo, you can see how your improvisational skills kind of like hit at the same moment where David Gilmour wrote and recorded his solo. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get right down to it. The first thing we got to do is study the chord progression of the solo. Now, there's two main parts of the solo. There is the F sharp part, and then there's that D major 7 part. We will discuss both, but let's start with the F sharp part. So the chords very simply are going to be F sharp minor to A to E and back to F sharp minor. Now, if we look at this section alone, like just this particular section, it's hard to see exactly what key it's in, and I want to explain that really quickly, because the F sharp minor to the A to the E can be in one of two potential keys. It could be in the key of A, where the F sharp is the 6th, the A is the 1, and the E is the 5, and it could have a 6, 1, 5 progression. Also, if you look at this, you could have something in the key of E. You could have the F sharp being the 2, the A being the 5, and the E being the 1. Now, the thing is later on in the song, we will definitely show you what key it is, but the fact is we have an ambiguous key here. And so it's like, well, what do we do? Well, the first chord is an F sharp minor, so what David Gilmour does is he grabs onto the F sharp minor pentatonic. Now, pentatonics don't have any modal relationship. They don't tell you what mode they're in. They just are a minor pentatonic. They're the workhorse of rock and roll, and this is no exception. So whether or not you know what key this is in, the F sharp minor pentatonic will work. It's what David Gilmour actually uses, and he manipulates it in such a great way. So we're going to stick with this section first, get to the next section. Let's get down to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have a recorded backing track, and I'm going to turn on my distortion pedals. I don't have my big muff plugged in, and I don't have a Strat, so if you are a tonophile, then I'm sorry, but if you want to learn how it's done, you can pay attention. All right, so now I'm just going to kind of like wank on on an F sharp minor pentatonic. Let's see how it sounds on this chord progression. Okay, it doesn't sound like David Gilmour just yet, but hey, it sounds okay. So the first step is load up the F sharp minor pentatonic and get this backing track. I'm sure there's plenty of them on the YouTube, and you can solo to it. So now, well, how do we start getting David Gilmour-esque? Well, the best analogy I have for this one is you got to think about playing pinball. All right, and so we have these 3 chords, and I'm going to start very, very simply. By the way, I will have a chart listed below. Should be 3 pages. We're going to do this in the form 1, the form 2, and the form 4. On the chart, in the video, we're just going to stick to the form 1, keep it simple. Back to the chorus. Okay, so here we go, the F sharp. Now, I'm going to pinpoint one F sharp right here, this 4th fret of the D string. That is an F sharp, and my A, I'm going to pinpoint 2nd fret of the G string, and my E, I'll pinpoint the 2nd fret of the D string. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about the David Gilmour time pinball machine. And when the chord comes, I'm going to kind of take that ball and hit a chord tone, boop, with the flipper, bing, at the moment, bam, like boom. And then we're going to let the pentatonic boop, 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 kind of like gather some points for us. And then as the ball comes down towards the next chord change, the A, we're going to boom, hit that ball, hit the chord right in that moment, bing, it's going to bounce around the pentatonic, lights are going off, right? And we're going to do the same thing for the E. It comes to the E chord change, the ball comes down, hit the chord tone, boom, right, the moment of the chord change, and then use the pentatonic to score more points. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, very simply. We're going to get really complex in a little bit, but let's start simply. So watch for those 3 notes. Oh, hey, if I can hit my pedal. Flipper. Next one. Boom, it's hitting a chord tone. Okay. Alright, so we're playing pinball now. So you can see those flippers and the chord. The moment the chord change is coming, and I just hit the chord tone, and then I use the pentatonic to score some points. So now how do we elaborate on that? Well, one thing we're going to do is we're going to look at all the chord tones. Now, you can do it one of 2 ways, all right? I'm a visual person. I like seeing frets and fret numbers. Is it important to know the notes of the guitar? Yes, but right now, to keep it dirty and, not dirty, quick and dirty and efficient, you can do it like this. Now, if you look at an F sharp minor chord, the frets are 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2. Do you need to know that there are F sharps and C sharps and A's in there? Sure, eventually. But right now, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret, 2nd fret, 2nd fret. Boom. Any one of those notes can now be played at the moment that ball drops and the flipper hits it on the chord tone. Boom. And then you hit any one of those notes and you can solo around in the pentatonic and gather your points. When the A comes, well, where's our A chord around the 2nd fret? Well, we have kind of one shape split in half. You have your G-shaped chord. Now, if you're new to the cage chord system, you can check out my channel. I have, I'm just going to adjust my seat. There we go. You could I'll link some videos below so you can get all your bar chords down and cage voicings. This is a G-shaped chord. This is the thick side. This is the thin side. You can use any one of these chord tones in that solo. Again, this will all be on the chart so you can see it clearly. Then the E chord, instead of playing an E here, we got to find it around the 2nd fret, and so we have this D-shaped chord. Now, one thing you want to realize is in the solo, even though you can play the full D-shaped chord like this, you can notice, look at my ring finger, it's not in that pentatonic. And we don't actually want to play it. David Gilmour's style isn't really to come outside the pentatonic. He'll manipulate a pentatonic, but he's not going to step outside of it. And so I have these chord tones here. I have 2nd fret of the D, 4th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B, and I also have, believe it or not, that 2nd fret of the A. And of course you can put the open E in if you want. That makes sense too. All right, so now look for the chord, not look for me, but like I'm going to play it. I'm going to play any one of these chord tones and hit my pinball with my flipper at the moment of that chord change. Then go to the A, and my eyes and hands are going to feel these chord tones here. And then when it goes to the E, I'm going to kind of hunt for some chord tones in that F sharp minor pentatonic, like in that area. And so let's see what it sounds like. The idea here is that it just sounds like bland a little bit. Like it's like, okay, it sounds like kind of like a person who's kind of just getting like used to the guitar, and we don't want to sound like that. We want to have some sort of authority. So what does David Gilmour do? Well, this is where his like brilliant manipulation of a pentatonic really comes into play. You notice right off the bat, he'll play these notes. He'll play the solo as written is, bum, 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 bum. Sorry. There it is. And that's a brilliant move because what he's doing is on the A chord, he's hitting this A note, but instead of sounding weak, because like as you go into the thicker strings, the tenacity of your guitar diminishes just because of the pure tone and timbre of the string. So he wants to go for this note, but instead he takes this note in the pentatonic and bends up to it. And you want to look for these moves. You'll realize that on the F sharp, when you come back to the F sharp, instead of playing this F sharp here, if you're here, you can take this guy and bend up. And so now he's going to start manipulating his pentatonic to put a couple bends in. It's pretty much this bend here, up to the A chord tone, and this bend here up to an F sharp, excuse me. So let's just see if I can play again a little bit, get some of those bends in that go towards the chord tones that I can see, but we're not just going to play like, we're going to put a little bit of a, soul into it. Here we go. There's my E chord tone. So just in case you're wondering what the heck I was doing there, I'll explain again. I don't want to just play the notes in the pentatonic. I want to see how you can create this tension through bending up to a note in the pentatonic. Again, I kind of talked about this in my previous In the Mind of David Gilmour, somewhere on my channel for Comfortably Numb. But this is what he does. He's a great pentatonic player. He manipulates those notes through tension into the resolve of these chord tones. So for this guy here, I take this note and I bend it up to an A chord tone. I take this guy and I'll bend it up to the actual home. This is kind of pretty powerful because we're on the E and this is an E, and then you can slowly bring it up to the F sharp as it hits the F sharp minor. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now, one thing I want to mention is something that he definitely does also, and I will do another example, and you're going to find this a couple of times, and it's really fun to do, which is, this is home, this F sharp right here, okay? And when you play this note next to it, the B, really nothing special, but if you take this B and you bend it to the C sharp up here, that creates the 5. That's the 5 of home. And if you've seen any of my videos, that the power of the 5, if you can bend up this 5, and bring it home, it gives it a little more like love. So listen for that. I'll play one more time. Got to put on my second distortion pedal. There it is. Listen for the chord tones, the pinball flippers hitting those chord tones at the moment, pentatonic riff-raff, bending some notes into chord tones, and manipulating some bends and stuff. Here we go. So there's everything. I have a lot of fun with this, and I hope you're enjoying this. All right, so then there's the very next part. So now this very next part, actually, let's talk about the chords involved, okay? It's a D, sorry, the next part, D major 7, to an A major 7, then back to a D major 7, this will all be on the charts and everything, all the chord shapes and chords. And then D major 7, and then it's going to go down to a C sharp minor 7, okay, to a B minor 7, and then it goes thunderously down to that E. All right, so this chord progression here, and I'm going to put up the keys to the chord, the chords to the key of A right about here, and then I'm going to make them disappear for a second, and then I'm going to bring them back as if they are extended and as 7th chords. And now we have, boom, we have A major 7, okay, that's in the progression, great. We have a B minor 7, that's in the progression. C sharp minor 7, that's in the progression. D major 7 is definitely in the progression. And, well, we're not playing E minor 7, go back to it. Sorry, in E7, we're playing an E. So you can see a lot of these chords are in, a lot of them are in the key of A, which makes me now think, okay, well, the whole song was in the key of, the parent key of A, but that chord progression is so good and so ambiguous that that pentatonic just sounds great on top of it. But back to this part. This part's very simple. This is where, if you are a visual learner and you want to support StichMethod, this is where that chart will come into play. What we're going to do here for improv is we're not going to kind of like depend on the scale so much. We're going to depend on those chord tones. So your knowledge of some cage chord work is going to be good. So right around the 2nd fret, if you look at the D chord, okay, it's a C-shaped chord in the 2nd fret. Now, interestingly enough, he doesn't really hit the major 7th a lot, but I'll show you. This is a D chord, this is a D major 7. So any one of these chord tones on that D chord, any single one, like, Then A major 7, now you can play it with 2-2-2. Sorry, 2-2, 2-1-2 like that. That's an A major 7. You can play A major 7 like this. Any one of these chord tones is going to work. For the C sharp minor 7, which is my favorite, and you're trying to keep everything in the second position, is you play the C minor shape chord, which is 4-2-1-2. There it is there. All right, C sharp minor. B minor 7. You can play a B minor arpeggio, a B minor 7 arpeggio. I find that on these minor chords, really just the minor arpeggios instead of the minor 7th arpeggios really work well. Why make a thing too complex? Okay, so I have a D major arpeggio I'm going to use, an A major or an A major 7th or an A major 7. I'm going to use a C sharp minor arpeggio for the C sharp minor, and I'm going to use my B minor arpeggio for the B minor, and then it goes to the E, and you have to kind of do the roo-doo-doo before it comes in. Now the bad news about all this is my loop has those 4 sections of the F sharp, A, and E, so I'm going to solo over those using all the tricks I've already done, and then when I get to this part, I'm going to play pretty much just my chord arpeggios in a fashion that kind of, you want to make it musical. You just don't want to be like... Just listen to what you're doing. You should be fine. All right, so here we go. Distortion pedals on, check, launch, go. Here we go. This is just about improvising, right? And studying what happens. What's really cool about this, and what's really cool, is if you do learn this solo note for note, you can see how your note choices when you improvise are going to intercept where David Gilmour's note choices were for the recorded section. Now, that was just in a Form 1 pentatonic, right? Now, if you want to do this in Form 2, the chart will have it, and he does move up to a Form 2. If you want to do it in the Form 4, right about here, the chart will have it. He kind of gets up there, but then he gets up to that Form 1 here. And so, to make a long story short, have a good day. I'm going to kind of play a little and fade out into the distance, and you go have an awesome week. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'll address them on my live feed. I hope you enjoyed this. In the mind of David Gilmour, Pinball, machine playing chord tone pentatonic mastery. All right, here we go. Bye, guys. Rock and roll.